Back to our live energy talk here on Skype with our Sacred Self-Healing Premium members. It's been a while, and I'm very happy that you all made it to this impromptu solstice special. All right, so what we're going to talk about here today is basically a continuation of a forecast that I did in 2022, where I talked about the years of preparation, the time until 27. And today I would like to dig a little deeper and go into, well, what is this actually, this change or this shift or this big transformation that is supposedly supposed to happen in 2027. All right, are there any ideas or forecasts or predictions or prophecies that you are aware of, that you have come across, other than, following me perhaps with my monthly energy analysis and holistic forecasts? What are some of the things that you've heard about 2027? Are there any theories out there that you are familiar with? Any feelings that you have as sort of active self-healers, as energetically sensitives? What do you see in our near future? Not sort of the wide, big out there, but what do you see for us here as a whole sort of global community as, I guess, the next steps or the next sort of stages that we're going to go through? Does anybody dare to break the ice?
Yeah, hi. It's
Hi.
Hi. My feeling is that it is going to be worse before it's getting better. It's like it's amping up a bit again now. Like with the COVID, now I have the feeling again it's maybe becoming worse again. I don't know what it is, but that's the feeling.
You mean in regard to like health or mandates or pandemic, or just in general?
General, yeah. And maybe here in Denmark there's war talk, and catastrophic talks, and nature, nature events. You have to be prepared. We're not used to hearing that kind of things here, so that's very new for us.
So earth changes, climate change, nature catastrophes.
Yes, you have to be prepared.
Okay.
That we're not used to that. Yeah.
And you're reflecting on some of the sort of collective messaging. It's like things that you hear in the news or that people talk about. And those are barometers, right?
Yeah.
When we listen to our neighbors or to the butcher down the street, and they're talking, small talk, but they're talking about things that they're sort of receiving as messaging, even if we are not avid news watchers or necessarily believe in all this. But there is something that is circulating for all of us or percolating, and that's what you call like the preparedness part. There's a feeling that we need to prepare, that we brace ourselves.
Yeah, also the fear of Russia, of Putin. That's
so political fear.
Definitely too, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about it here now.
Thank you for bringing this in, because, we have an audience here that is comprised globally. So, people that are living here in the United States or maybe in Australia are not aware, of those kind of messages, because it just simply doesn't affect us as much, for example, as Denmark. You share a body of water with Russia. So the Russians that are coming is a deeply ingrained sort of fear message that has been cruising around in Europe for like 100 years.
Yeah, or maybe not coming, but maybe they can interfere with our communication, internet, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of, 100 years ago, like big part of the Nazi propaganda was, this fear mongering to prepare the population for, things like war and, the destruction of, what they would call Bolsheviks or, sort of Russian elements in their society, basically the genocide of that. So the fear mongering was a really, really big part of that propaganda message, to prepare people for being okay with going to war. Okay, so that's something that we need to keep in mind, that there's different levels of that working in us, right? There's the outer messaging, something that I have often referred to as mind control. Where we're being conditioned through the messages that comes through media, through movies, songs, news, social media, and so forth. And then there's the inner messaging. There's the sort of the inner feeling. Now, you responded here first from the perspective of your inner feeling, right? And you said something along those lines, that you have the feeling that it's going to get a little worse before it can get better. But at the same time, I heard that you have strong hope for it getting better. You just understand that there are certain things that still need to unravel first. Is that a good representation of your inner messaging? Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of things, as far as your inner messaging is concerned, do you believe or feel have to unravel? Like, what has to change in order for things to get better? And it's a question for all of you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of truths coming out at the moment. People are getting exposed, who had been lying or not playing fair. It can be politicians, and it can be companies or famous people, And it feels like it's good, and it uplifts the general people. Yeah,
it's disillusioning on one hand, right?
Yes,
because a lot of people wanted to believe certain types of messages. And then on the other hand, it's also liberating, because a lot of people also felt that it wasn't
exactly
that wasn't. I don't want to say that it wasn't true, but that it didn't feel like the right thing. So especially, this is something as energetically sensitives that we have been feeling for decades. That whatever the reality is that people are working with doesn't seem to be. Really what it truly feels. It feels like a simulation or a projection. And so in a way, there's a relief when the bubble bursts, right? Even though it might be painful at first and we have to let go of things, because of course there's a sort of always the idealized wish, that things would just sort of somehow sort themselves out, like that it will all be good. But there's a disillusionment, and at the same time also a little bit of a relief. So I full-heartedly agree with you here, and that it is something, if you watched my predictions in 2022 for the years, to come until 27 that I predicted, these media wars and this new definition of truth that really needs to occur now, because especially during the pandemic times, this entire sort of segment of what is true, what is real, what is science, what is not science, and what to believe in, got seriously questioned. So we can therefore conclude that, every crisis that occurs that questions something in the way we perceive reality does on one hand bring, maybe the discomfort of awakening, the discomfort of, some of our reality bubbles bursting. And also, of course, you mentioned celebrities, you mentioned sort of the whole media trust, the trust in the media. It doesn't feel good to find out that you can't trust, let's say, your favorite news outlet or, your TV or social media channel. It doesn't feel good at first. But then once we actually start accepting that, we are not supposed to blindly trust in anything that comes from outside. We're supposed, to learn discernment from within. We can clearly see that something that I have been calling the confrontation with untruth is a very, very powerful tool for, making the unconscious conscious, becoming, more active, more responsible, and ultimately also more in charge of one's own decisions. So ultimately, any confrontation with untruth is a catalyst for us, to gain or regain, our own authority in making decisions. Blind trust, we know this from our relationships, from so many different areas in our lives, is never a good advisor. This doesn't mean that we have to be paranoid, doesn't mean that we have to question everything, and especially doesn't mean that we have to question ourselves. But we have to be able to rely on something. We need to have a reference system within ourselves, that we can use as a roadmap for discerning truth, for discerning what is true, what is good, what is beautiful, what is conducive, what brings about growth, what brings about, community, what brings about basically, the greater good for all. Those are things that we are naturally aligned to, and that's what is starting to change here. This is, in a nutshell, another really the nature of this transformation that we are in, namely the shift of our priorities and of the paradigm, the reference system that we are operating in. This is a very, very big shift because it works with our perception. And perception is, ever since we as a humanity investigated, the differences between the phenomenon and the interpretation of what it is that we're perceiving, in Aristotle times and Socrates, Plato, and so forth, 2,500 years ago. If we don't work with our perception, we can easily fall for things that are being spoon-fed to us or projected toward us, or that we are being conditioned or programmed or inculcated with. This is something that we are now beginning to realize. So if you've watched the forecast, my suggestion as to how to look at, the years to come, what it actually is that we are preparing for, what it actually is that can help us understand, these these transformations better, so that we can make better decisions. All right, so here is the old slide, okay, where I've referred to the years from 2020 to 27 as the years of transformation. And I talked about, these different streams in these different years. It's not really calendar years, but obviously we have to use some kind of timely framework, okay? And we can see here that, these reality wars, this is something that you've mentioned, yeah, where, we were starting to uncover that we cannot blindly trust anything that comes in through, how the general public regards things. Yeah, we were forced to make decisions based on our own understanding of reality. But even though this came in as a catalyst, yeah, the pandemic years, it didn't guarantee that we were trained enough yet, that we were able to master our thoughts, our body, and our emotions enough to be independent of that. So this is what most of us painfully experienced in those pandemic years, is that we have sort of an inner split here somewhere, that we have, something like a message, yeah, that is coming in and that we are, sort of receiving. By the way, I don't know if you realize this, but even if, 20, 21, 22, 23, if you didn't believe, say, in, everything that the news outlets reported, you would still receive this message through your body. So you would still pick up, especially if you're energetically sensitive, you would still pick up on this free-floating anxiety, on this generalized, fear of the future. Yeah, so this was very strong during the pandemic years. It's not too long ago, but some of us, just sort of filed this away. So this is all still going on, guys. Yeah, so we're developing a sense, yeah, for what we perceive internally and what we perceive externally, and our job is to learn to sort this and to work with both of them. And hopefully, and this is kind of like, the job that I'm taking on here by reporting and by analyzing and by helping you to contextualize, all these greater dynamics that are going on. Find a way, find somewhat of a roadmap, find something that allows us to work with, what is coming in on the outside and what is coming in on the inside via our sense system, our sensory system, yeah, and take that as basically cue, yeah, to refine it more, yeah, to bring these two often opposing inner message or guidance systems, okay, into concordance, into coherence, yeah, into something that we call, the heart mind, yeah, where we, learn, to harmonize, our intellectual, our rational knowledge with our inner senses and our inner feeling, so that we don't have to endure, what I often call this most excruciating pain, yeah, namely the cognitive dissonance in us. So cognitive dissonance, yeah, this state of an inner split, all right, that we all know too well, all right, yeah, your heart says one thing and your mind says another thing. Or sometimes it's your mind that says two different things. There can be many variations of that. From a psychological point of view, this is literally the biggest kind of, or like most irritating kind of pain that we can experience as humans, because it messes with our perception. Yeah, it messes with our priorities. It can mess with our ability to respond. It can stun us. It can make us, make bad decisions in the moment, because it has such a profound impact on our nervous system and the information and emotional processing. Yeah, so cognitive dissonances, guys, if this is all you remember from this little lecture here, is really your enemy number one, because a cognitive dissonance creates not only this inner back and forth, this inner confliction, which then in return, lowers your energy and makes you more susceptible to dark and negative thoughts and so forth. But it also physically impacts you. It creates enormous amounts of physical stress through your nervous system. And that can then affect your physical health. It can create all kinds of physical ailments. It can create all kinds of emotional ailments, relationship issues, etc., etc. Yeah. So don't underestimate. It's like really when it comes to like what it is that we all need to focus on to have a more prepared, a more trained mind. Okay, like in two word, like a coherent heart mind, is that we become more open and more precise in detecting these cognitive dissonances in us, because they are doing something to us that does two things. It literally, distorts our perception, and with it also our information processing, so we can't actually see well, not even with a logical brain, if you will. And on the other hand, and that might be more important to my audience here, to you guys, it lowers your vibration to a point where, you're not only attracting more of this dark energy and negative way of thinking, you're actually becoming a mothership of it. You're actually spiraling down yourself, which means, as an active self-healer, it's an enormous amount of work that it takes to get yourself back out of it. All right? So let's keep that in the back of our minds, that when we are talking about, these things that Annette just mentioned here, like this very feeling that we all have that something big is coming, that we need to prepare, that we somehow need to, adjust, that we, that things are changing. Those are all things, just the few words here. We don't even have to use the word catastrophe or apocalypse. If you throw those into the mix, and I've talked extensively about the use of words and how this is actually programming us. There's a lot to say about the energetic quality of words and how they can be sort of transfigured into programming us to see things in a certain way without us being able to detect it. So that whole cluster I call mind control, because it happens through several channels. Words is one channel. Energetic aspects are another channel. And some of those energetic aspects aren't, they aren't created by any particular force, perhaps, but more so like as a sort of collective echo of, the forces of light and the forces of dark working through us humans. And it happens through our relationships. It happens through the messaging in media, obviously, the messaging in our social lives, what people regard as desirable, what people, sort of put out as their goals, and obviously also our economy, what we consider to be successful, what we consider to be desirable, sort of as a life goal. All right, that's how mind control occurs. It's not like a lot of people imagine, MK Ultra. These things exist as well, but it really isn't what you need to be afraid of. What you need to be afraid of, quite honestly, and this is what we discuss here all the time, and we work self-healing strategies and modalities to inoculate ourselves and to get ourselves, less susceptible to that, is really the effect on your own untrained mind. And that is to throw you into a state of a cognitive dissonance. Why? Because it creates a free-floating anxiety. And free-floating anxiety is a state, this is a neurological state, all right, that opens you up for sort of general messages of salvation and solutions, okay? And you need to be particularly suspicious when this promise of salvation or promise of solution is personified, when it is, sort of around one person, one savior, okay, like, the one that fixes it all, or in the case of the pandemic, the inoculation through the mRNA, fixes it all. Yeah, when there's no alternatives, when there is no discourse, when there is no sort of process, okay, to evaluate things, when things get so say spearheaded and narrow that there is really only one solution, and that solution might sound like war, or might sound like a certain person as a president, or as a certain organization that needs to take over. So these are realistic things that, if I look back 2.5 years when I did this little lecture here on the years of transformation, that have all come to play in the meantime, and that are no longer just predictions, okay? So if I look at my own chart here, and where I said, okay, so this is coming, now it's here, okay? And we are in the middle of 2024 right now, where, we're starting to see big shifts everywhere as far as, the leadership of countries is concerned. We're seeing sudden assassinations or deaths in leadership, or we're seeing, sudden elections, sudden shifts, big political shifts, especially, of course, here in the United States. This is all, in full motion right now, okay? Sometimes it's difficult to see it as it is going on, but anyone who has a little bit more of a view from the outside can clearly see what is going on here right now in the world. There's sort of a regrouping happening around us that is forming, and this is really confirming, Annette, what you said about the political messaging around Russia. It's forming new alliances. So this is something that it's very, very hard for us to imagine, especially those of us who are a little older, like myself, to live in a world where all our understanding of who the good guys and the bad guys are or were is reversing or is changing. This is just like with, the confrontation with untruths and the disillusionment when you find out that you can't really trust the one source, that you have been using as, sort of your source for information. So this isn't going to be easy for the collective, to accept new alliances that are forming now. And the reason why this has to happen, guys, is simply because, these alliances, and you've probably heard about this, and I don't want to go into the conspiracy part of that, but these alliances that have basically ruled the world here in these last 150 years, okay, they are starting to die. They are starting to gradually decline. Yeah, just like we've had this in many different eras of humanity where a civilization rose and then, more or less suddenly collapsed. And this is what we can witness right now, okay? So the old alliances are collapsing. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing, you might ask? Well, our ego, of course, believes it's a bad thing immediately because it is something that we've, used as a reference system. Okay, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, no matter where you live in the world. Yeah, and so when that changes, yeah, it's it's like when your parents get divorced and you have to decide whom you want to live with in a way. Okay, yeah, are you going to stay loyal to this or that? You're screwed either way. So the problem with these kind of transformations is that they create cognitive dissonances in us no matter what. Okay, so because we as humans with an ego, even if we have a higher developed consciousness, do not like change. We do not like this. The only way for us to get past, the discomfort of change is to understand why, is to understand why this has to change. Yeah, and in order to understand why this has to change or why it's a good thing that the change occurs, just like myself going through moving. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of discomfort. Yes, everybody who's ever moved in their lives knows this. But it's for the better. It's for, the better future. It's for a better foundation. It's for a better, unfoldment and, for provision, yeah, for providing more of this or that, depending on what your personal priorities are. So at this very moment here, June 2024, solstice, all right, summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere, winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. We are at I can't even express to you what that looks like in the energetic. We're at an extremely pivotal moment, okay? And that is that it literally starts tipping over. All right, and this is the nature of all solstices. They come with the full moon. They illuminate all the things that were in the dark before, and during solstices, that's amplified. There's an article that I wrote about solstice energies. It makes, this sheath or this veil, Maya, between the physical and the spiritual reality more permeable. It's easier for us to access that. It's a time where you really need to pay attention to your inner messaging. Okay, because it becomes stronger and it is more pure than, let's say, at other times throughout the year. So right now, especially today, in a few hours, we're at the pinnacle of the summer solstice or winter solstice, okay, to go in, to meditate, to do conscious breath work and, to ground yourself and to really sort of feel into this shift as it's occurring. It's a beautiful window, a beautiful sort of portal, as some call it. It sounds too science fiction-y for me, but it's a beautiful window into sort of a new beginning, a new manifestation, something new arising. And in the June forecast, I've already mentioned it. This is an extremely positive time for those of you who are actively stepping into a new future, actively taking steps. This does not have to be fully materialized yet, but creating a clear plan of what it is that you want in the future. And planning, guys, this is a tip from me, does not mean to, the vision board is always good for the visualization part of it, but this is not just sort of rational work. It's feeling work. It's working with your senses and your feelings. And I'm going to talk about what we can do in this time, to stay centered and to work with these transformational energies, with these sort of prepper energies that are coming in now here in a moment. So you see the lineup of the themes of the years that I have done here 2.5 years ago, and we're in the middle of it. So the next thing ahead is new alliances, and this is bigger than we might initially think, because we already received the messaging. There is a lot of war talk. Okay, this is something that has to come, guys. This is already going on as a matter of fact. So there are, with these new alliances, it's literally sort of a reordering of the powers to be. It's nothing that needs to worry us, but we have to literally stay conscious and observe, how this ties in with our own belief system, to stay open there and to understand that, when we move toward a better future as opposed to trying to hold on to the old, we are actually experiencing support from the spiritual world. We are experiencing sort of, the cosmic energy that is based on an evolutionary principle. If we are trying to hold on to the old, which all our egos desire to do. Why? Because it's less discomfort and it seems to be more predictable. Yeah, so we have to kind of process change, as with a lot of inner resistance coming from our ego. No matter how conscious you are, you'll still feel that resistance in you. You have to process that with our unified heart mind, with understanding that, yes, this is a discomforting time, but it is for the good. Yeah, it is the mastering of your will. Yeah, you have to understand that, just like, say, if you do a 3-day fast, yeah, that's discomforting. Okay, yeah, if you've ever done a 3-day fast or 8-day fast, even, that's not fun, especially the first day and a half. Okay, but it is something that is beneficial for your system. So you go in with that. You supersede it with your higher consciousness. This is nothing, woo-woo. This is like literally your conscious choice, and say, well, I know that's going to challenge me. Maybe I have to make adjustments here and there. I can't exercise as much, or maybe I have to drink more water and stuff like that. Yeah, just to be able to handle it better. But it's going to, really help me down the road. Okay, so that is, a trained mind. That is what mastering your will means. It means that you can make a commitment to yourself, to, whom it concerns, all right, and that you follow through to your best abilities. That's always a little bit of an approximation, obviously, because life still happens, yeah, regardless of your will. Even if you have the best of self-intentions, yeah, there's always things that can come in between and make it harder, or make it easier. You don't know that, but your will is the one that drives you forward. And what we don't know yet, because we have been aligning ourselves to our egos too much, simply because we didn't know any better, is that when you align to your higher will, okay, any resistance that comes forward actually helps you. It becomes a tool for your evolution. It becomes a tool for your learning process, as opposed to how the ego experiences resistance as these curveballs, yeah, that life throws at you. The ego experiences it as a drama, as a catastrophe, as an apocalypse, as a crisis, yeah, as a big old, big deal. Okay, the higher consciousness, however, when you are basically on that different train, yeah, when you are moving toward your evolutionary sort of drive in you, okay, to grow, can see that any kind of challenge, any kind of experience, even if the ego experiences it as a negative experience, is ultimately a positive, a learning experience that helps you to refine, that helps you to purify, what was previously, say, unclear, or what was previously untrained. Yeah, so we begin to see all these challenges, all these, these things that we have to do, where we have to get out of our comfort zone, as a welcome invitation into either clearing something out of our lives, letting go of things that we have been attached to, or, allowing something new to come in. Often it's both at the same time. And that's the same with political stuff, okay? So if you look into history has the tendency to repeat itself, especially if you look into the larger history, not just the last 150 years, but also the last, like, say, maybe 10,000 years. Okay, from what we know, you can see that there was a constant rise and fall. There was constantly shifting alliances, and in the end, that is what drove, the social development and the economic development, the cultural development, and so forth. Yeah, so we're going to experience new alliances, and with it also something that at this point I would call it mass migration. I've talked about this before. 10, 15 years ago, I predicted, these massive amounts of relocation. This is partially due to Earth changes, although I'd be very, very careful with sort of blindly trusting in the messaging that we get about man-made climate change. There's much bigger forces that, have to do with our solar system. Yeah, our sun is the biggest influencer of our climate, and also, the galaxy and so forth, how all these things, these constellations, and not necessarily astrologically, but astronomically, how they influence one another and how they influence the climate on each planet. So these are things that science is just now uncovering, but we have a great body of science, that can confirm this for us. So again here, your job is to discern truth, not to blindly trust in it and not to go against anything, but to actually form, your own authority for truth, and with it, your refined and purified ability to make good choices for yourself. All right, I'm going to get to what a good choice is here in a moment. In 2026 then, we will experience something like sort of a formation. Things are starting to form new. This is obviously often preceded by the collapse of something, by something that, has to kind of go, that has to either die off, or that has to, be, has to be taken away. The old structures, if you think of it maybe in form of government agencies and things like that. So I'm talking about those kind of constructs. All right, they will reorder, they will have to be rebuilt. Okay, so that's what I mean with incorporation. There is new sort of incarnation of, what we would call a world order, a world power. And in 2027 then, and this is quite interesting because the year brings in so many different shifts, astrologically, as well as, just like how people already think about it. So if I, search the internet about, keywords such as transformation or global awakening, or type in 2027, I was shocked how much discussion there is about 2027 as some kind of big year. That's why I asked you about your what okay, if there was something that you have heard or that you were buying into, that you were believing in. And really what it is, guys, is that there's a lot of astrological constellations in 2027. But also, when we look at the larger momentum that we're having here, we're looking at, cycles that have started roughly 2020. Okay, in 2020, we've experienced this bifurcation in our society for the first time, and that comes to a conclusion in 27. In other words, in 27. The word bifurcation translated as sort of two split societies, yeah, two different realities in which people live, okay? That will be very, very visible. And at that point, we are, and this is already going on, we will be experiencing this as a spiritual war, as a war of perception, as a war of belief systems. Okay, so these years here of 2020 till 2024 were really the years of polarization and preparation. Okay, we're now entering sort of the hot phase of that. And in 2027, these spiritual wars that I just talked about, the war of belief systems, and perception systems, okay, that is of importance to us, because all of you here that have been working on preparing your mind, mastering your thinking, mastering your emoting, mastering your body, mastering your will, okay, and learning how to develop and refine your higher consciousness, all right, you will be part of one group that will perceive reality very, very differently from the other group that chooses to seek, sort of a future and what they want to believe in and the salvation that they believe, to receive in another way. We will literally be able to see this bifurcation. Now, up until now, the group of people that are, what we would call like sort of spiritual truth seekers or consciousness seekers was relatively small. In my predictions here in 2022, I said, well, the spirituality is going to become mainstream, and this is already happening, unfortunately, also with the shadow aspects of that, namely the profaning of esoteric truths and spiritual sciences, which is fine. But what you will see is that this phase that we're in right now, the awakening phase, where we're awakening to, a new reality, to a new world order, to new alliances and so forth, that literally creates sort of a new, I don't want to say new strand, but it creates sort of the next evolutionary stage of consciousness. All right, so it be more the normal, the natural evolution, and those who are hanging on to older frameworks and hanging on to, how it used to be, will actually be pulled into a different reality. So this bifurcation, guys, and it's very difficult to imagine right now, but it will be very, very obvious on the outside. Up until now, it's more like on the inside. During the pandemic, we got a little bit of a preview of what that's going to be. But in a few years from now, guys, this will be very, very apparent. We have, on one hand, this whole thread of, transhumanism and augmentation through machines and AI and so forth, and all that comes with it. The space travel, the these sort of alternative evolutionary routes with migrating or populating other planets and so forth as an escape route, so to speak, to create a new reality. And those that are actually recognizing that, our home planet, our Earth, is, where we receive, our life force and our sort of spiritual truth from. So this is a bit more sort of the spiritual perspective on that, but you will see this on the outside. You will see this in behavior, you will see this in the way people dress, in the way people live. Going on from then, in 2028, I'm predicting something that I call correction. That's basically sort of the end of the confrontation with untruth, because it's the downfall of untruth. So we have to learn to discern, between, dark and light forces. This is instrumental in this ability to discern truth. And the more people are doing this, the more people are consciously working on healing and self-healing and consciousness development, the fewer people literally, will be able to even agree to something like, transhumanism, because we'll feel it in our bodies. We'll feel it through our own senses that this is not something, that drives us forward. It is something that will basically devolve us, into, older and prehistoric evolutionary states, really. So there will be a correction, and that will happen through the downfall of untruth. So basically the exposure of untruth, you mentioned it already. If we look at the nature of dark forces it's very obvious, basically what these terms like Satan or devil or whatever stand for. The nature of that is, the lie, the untruth, the trickery, the deception. Whereas the forces of light, just the nature of them doesn't matter what you believe in religiously or spiritually. But the forces of light, the forces that, create life, they are based on clarity, they're based on symmetry, they're based on beauty, they're based on truth. And really all we got to do is to refine this sense in us, because we all have a sense for that. We can feel it when things are asymmetrical, when they're ugly, when they are untrue, when they are not conducive. We just got to learn how to trust in that more. Yeah, that's inherent in us. You can call this the divine spark, or you can call this, the Christ consciousness in us. But really what it is, the roadmap toward, us growing into our higher expression as humans, us understanding our own purpose better, and therefore becoming able to make better choices. Not just for ourselves, this is part of this transformation, like the last 150 years are all about, individualism, materialism, capitalism, and so forth, self-gain, selfishness, the ego, chakra, selfishness. That is something that we have now, that we now understand as not conducive for neither ourselves nor our collective. So we're transforming away from individualism more into sort of an individuated collectivism, where we understand that, we all have to step into self-authority. We all have to step into our own identity and then come together as conscious soul selves, in our full awareness of our own spiritual and physical identity. This is basically what this natural evolution, drives us into. And this comes with certain qualities. They're very easy to detect. These qualities feel like, like wanting to live a good life, wanting to be of service, wanting to be kind, wanting to collaborate, wanting to share, wanting, to have mutual exchange, wanting to communicate, wanting to connect. So if this is what you're feeling in you as, your main drive, all right, then you are already set for that path. Guys, you're already set on that path. These senses, this messaging in you is already actively broadcasting to you what it is that you're seeking. You just need to wrap your head around this and let go of all the untruths around you and understand that, the societal messaging and so forth that is mind controlling you, is trying to steer you away from that into an artificial evolution, into an artificial non-human, evolution that basically leads you away from kindness and empathy and forgiveness and all these basic human values. That's really how simple that is. There's no special techniques or no special thingamajigs needed for this. Really all you need is the understanding. And the understanding, what we also call the conscious awareness, that requires you to train or retrain your way of thinking, to retrain your way of emoting, the hardwires between your emotions and your nervous system and ultimately also your body. All just so that you can have a more pure and clear will that allows you to manifest these things that you aspire to, namely your higher expression, into your physical life. So from 2028 onward, in 2029, you see here new self-authority. This is a new level of reorganization that will happen individually, yeah, not just sort of on the level of political leadership and stuff like that and organizations, but now here in 2029, we have to step into our self-authority. We're learning that, this externalizing of our will, yeah, to these outer authorities is not conducive for us. This doesn't mean that it's all bad. It just means that there has to be a consensus within ourselves between our own integrity, our own values, and how we are expressing it in the physical, in the material world. And that can only come through us stepping into our own authority, be it the way you live, the way you want to make money, the way you conduct relationship, the way you work, the people, the organizations, and so forth that you vote for, that you subscribe to, that you pay, that you buy products from, and so forth. So that's what that means, guys. Yeah, so we're looking at a time now where we are called, and you've heard me say this like a broken record for the last 20 years, where we are called to step into self-responsibility, not as in having to do everything on our own, no, as in taking on our self-health, our self-soul, and also our self-material authority. Yeah, to determine this. And this is then basically what we can look forward, because by the end of these transformative years, yeah, when we're finally arriving, at a place, and this seems, it's only 6 years from now, but it seems like science fiction, what I am describing here, although not so much fiction, but more, toward higher developed expression of ourselves as humans. And that is something, to look forward to. That is a reference system that we can all subscribe to. We all want more freedom, more truth, and more love in our lives. Yeah? There's nothing in us that goes against it, except for maybe the fear of not being able to do it on our own. And the fear of not being able to do it on our own, that is something that you can mitigate by working with others, by finding ways to better collaborate, to, form groups, or to become part of become more sociable, to become more integrous with other people, and basically be less selfish. Yeah, those are, we know this from play theory, we know this from science. Those are the factors that allow us to reach higher goals together. Yeah, they allow us to create something bigger than ourselves through cooperation. That is the most favored concept, the most favored principle in the cosmos, if you will. Yeah, so this whole idea that we have to do all on our own, and that we all have to have our own bread-baking machine and foot bath and whatnot, is a complete ridiculous idea. It's part of that mind control. Yeah, this belief that we have to have everything on our own, and that we have to, sort of single fight or try to survive our lives. That is not natural, guys. Yeah, maybe that's natural in a sense, on a level of lower evolutionary stages, such as insects and certain lower life forms, but that is not the concept that has brought us, or not concept. It's not the principle that has brought us into existence, guys. The forces that have brought us into existence are the forces of the spirit of truth and the spirit of freedom and the spirit of love. All right, and that is what we need to align ourselves to. So how can we do this? Just real quick here. Yeah, how can we mitigate, this transformation pain, this ego resistance, and constantly forming cognitive dissonances in us? Well, the easiest way, and this is often underestimated, you all theoretically know this, but you keep forgetting it, is, to ground yourself, to center yourself, to really work with your breathing. The breathing is the most unconscious and yet most vital, part of your existence. Use it. Make it conscious. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You don't have to imagine figures or whatever. just take a deep, conscious breath and try to really help yourself to sort of activate your vagus system, so that it can, slow down your autonomous nervous system at will. You have to be able to do this at will so that when something comes along that challenges you, that you're able to control your body, okay? Or else your body is just going to go into like fight, flight, or freeze, or, PTSD, or any of these states that you're so familiar with that don't allow you to make good decisions. The other thing is you got to be able to get a hang out of your emotions, okay? So people always say, oh, yeah, I can't control my emotions. Yes, you can, because your emotions are partially physical, physiological, and partially mental, intellectual, okay? And that's how you learn to control your emotions. You investigate your emotions, you observe them, you witness them, and then you ask yourself, how does this emotion actually, you can't prevent emotions from occurring, but it's the way you handle, you deal with them, yeah? When I teach children, it's called self-regulation. It's as simple as that. Yeah, you have to learn, that emotions have a sort of a certain shelf life. They have a certain certain motions that they have to go through, and it's mostly physiological. And then you have to sort of take control over the aftermath and the interpretation of all of this, yeah, and let go of things to a certain degree until you reach a higher vibratory state in which you can actually, consciously process what is going on. And then last but not least, and you hear me talk about this all the time, is like you need to learn to master your thinking. This is honestly the biggest and longest process. Yeah, so this is what we do here in the Sacred Self-Healing communities and many other communities out there that work on this as well. They're actively working on the way you contextualize, you interpret things, and do this in a structured, in a systematic way. You have to learn to disrupt, non-conducive, negative thoughts, and you have to learn, how to replace them, how to rewire yourself. This takes a while. Yeah, but honestly, if you're asking me, what the most practical advice is, ground yourself. Know what helps you to ground yourself. So breathing obviously is just sort of in the moment. For most of us, it is our first, second, third chakra, our survival, our belonging, and our comfort zone that are going to be challenged here in these coming years. So if you look at it from a chakra perspective, take care of your home, take care of the place that you live in that makes you feel safe. This is the primary question. If you cannot, if you cannot sufficiently meet the need for safety, guys, all your spiritual blah blah goes poofs away. Okay, you're gonna have to feel safe. So I recommend that you start, and if you haven't done so already, with asking yourself, what are my needs? What are my fundamental needs? And what do I need to feel safe and to work toward that? Because without that, all the other stuff, has to budge, okay? Your emotions are going to go haywire and your mind is going to go, a million miles an hour if you don't feel safe. So that is the first thing. The place you live, how you live, whom you live with, those, and how you make money, and, like how, independent you are, yeah. So if you're a business owner, like how you can create, income that is not too dependent on certain things, such as the internet, for example. Yeah. So to think in a more localized way, to think in a more communal way, is definitely a good way of approaching these years of transformation now. And an emotional level, you got to understand that you do have a choice, okay? And if something impacts you in a negative way, then you need to learn to express that, to communicate that better, as opposed to like taking it on sort of as a matter, or as a, sort of a sacrificial type of victim, okay, those will not help you to grow. Those will not serve you, okay. The job, the next evolutionary stage for us is to step into a self-authority, and victimhood is not part of that, guys. Victimhood is the total externalization of your will, and therefore the complete opposite of self-authority. Okay, just so that's said. We talk about this all the time. And as for your third level of needs is concerned, the idea of like how other people see you and who you represent in this world, you're going to have to make corrections, and that happens mostly through shadow work and conscious work, because you realize that what it is that you have been portraying, that you have been putting out there as well, was just like sort of a fake, false self. That's not actually you. And if you're not based on your true self, if your choices and your actions and your, how you present yourself, how you actualize yourself in the world is not based on your true self, well then, obviously you feel empty, you feel useless, you feel like you have no purpose and no meaning in life, and that's what is going to pain you if you're not actually making that step, from going to this externalized view of yourself, how other people see you, or that from outside in, to how you see yourself from the inside, and how you present yourself to the world from within yourself. And not from a selfish standpoint, but from a standpoint of who you are today. And with this, I would like to conclude this brief forecast. Obviously, I'm going to continue to doing the monthly energy analysis and so forth, and invite you all to come to our free Connect with Your True Self global energy healing and meditation session tomorrow night on June 21st at 11 p.m. Go to my website or follow the links on social media. How to RSVP for this? This is 1 hour free energy clearing and healing session with a live energy talk afterwards, where we can exchange and interpret and work out, what these themes are that are coming forward through our inner messaging during the session. Okay, so June 21st, 11 p.m., middle of the night for many of you, for me as well. Okay, and RSVP so that you can receive the instructions by email. My name is Jona Bryndis. If you liked my take on things and the way I present these kind of predictions, if this inspires you, if this helps you, which is what I do as an energy coach, energy healer and therapist, okay, then, go to my website, check out the programs that I have there. I have communities that work on all these things that I've mentioned, mastering your body, mastering your emotions, mastering your thinking, mastering your will, and obviously also spiritual initiation, all the way to working with etheric and astral energies. I've been in this field for 20 years. So there's a lot of things that has accumulated in these years as wisdom here. So then go to my website, check this out. You can request an initial energy coaching consultation with me at no cost. Thank you so much for coming. Like this video, share it, and I hope to see you tomorrow in our Connect with Your True Self. Bye-bye, everyone.